UFC Vegas 66. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown brought to you by MyBookie. Main event, Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. Overall, it is a fantastic card to finish out the year for the UFC. I cannot wait to talk about each of the matchups. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you're new, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And let's get into the first fight of the night. Sergey Morozov and Newson. I'm going to be picking the side of Sergey Morozov here. I have to in this matchup. Newson does have some KO power. He's pretty explosive and he's fairly well-rounded too. I do think Morozov's wrestling could get to Newson in this fight. And he also is pretty quality with his striking. He's got a pretty decent lead left hook. At times though, I don't like how he's like lazily throwing it out there. Newson has the explosiveness to close the gap. I don't really feel like he's going to have the accuracy to find crazy punches on the side of Morozov. I think the defense is fairly sound. And just the threat of the wrestling in the back pocket, I see Morozov landing some takedowns, working against the cage. I do think his kickboxing is pretty solid. But I do think the wrestling aspect here is a big edge towards the side of Morozov. I'm going to pick him to win a decision. It could be fairly competitive, but I still think Morozov is the guy getting the hand raised at the end. On the cards, odds for the fight are very wide, around minus 225. Newson at plus 190. Betting side, I do think Morozov wins, but not necessarily one of my favorite guys to throw down on. Decent UFC career, but nothing really to, jump up and down about. He's win-loss, win-loss. That's kind of been his thing. Against Paiva in the last one, he put out a good performance and got his hand raised. And Newson, taking wins and losses. Kind of that same situation. Trades them back and forth. Some finishing ability there. Honestly, finishing ability on both sides. But I think the Morozov wrestling, and I think that a little bit better overall with the stand-up, whereas Newson could close that gap and land with big power. Morozov could touch him up, more technical style, work with the clinch, work at the trips, and time takedown. So we'll go Morozov, win, and we'll say it's on the cards for this one. Next fight of the night. The flyweights going after it. David Dvořák and Manel Kape. I'm actually stoked for this matchup. This is a really good flyweight fight between two guys who are in that top level, could work towards contendership with a couple of wins. Both guys also have losses to Matthias Nicolau, who burst on the scene with that win over Matt Schnell. Dvořák, last fight, that was the Nicolau one. I'm picking Manel Kape. I'll tell you guys out the gate here. But Dvořák is a good fighter. He's got a wide kickboxing stance. He definitely has quality grappling too. He's a well-rounded fighter. On the opposite side, I see Kape with a bit of that explosiveness advantage. I do think he's well-rounded too. He's fought really good competition through the Rizin circuit over there in Japan. Comes to the UFC with a fair amount of top-level experience. And he's done pretty damn well. The past two wins, he's looking pretty good, getting impressive finishes. Zhalgas Zhumagulov, granted, the level is here of Zhumagulov. Ode Osborne knockout, another guy. Not necessarily towards the top end, but a good win nonetheless. The loss to Nicolau was close, and then Pantoja also beat him. For Manel Kape, I think in this fight, he beats a David Dvořák in a competitive out on the cards. I do think he has the speed edge and probably the physical strength advantage. Dvořák's no slouch anywhere, though. I mean, look at his wins. 8 by knockout, 8 by submission. He's comfortable everywhere. I actually think this is a really competitive flyweight bout that Kape edges by a little bit. I'm going to say he gets it done on the cards. 29-28 will be of no surprise to me. And Kape is, kind of wide as the favorite. Best value is around minus 200, whereas Dvořák sitting at plus 205. I do think Kape gets his hand raised, though. But Dvořák is no easy out. He's always going to be live, and he's got a good skill set to fight with Kape. I'm super interested in this matchup. To pick his Kape, though, I say he gets the hand raised, and I do think it's probably on the cards with him just landing a bit more significant strikes. And I would be kind of surprised if Dvořák, the Undertaker, is taking Kape down and controlling him. So we're going to pick Kape, win via decision, which should be an interesting flyweight battle. Next matchup on the card. Bryan Battle and Rinat Fakhretdinov. It's a hard last name to pronounce here. We'll call him Renat. The pick is Renat. I'll tell you guys out the gate. It's not that I don't want Bryan Battle to win. As a fan, like, I'd root Bryan Battle, but he's taking the fight on a bit of short notice. He's fighting a guy with good wrestling. I will tell you, those 20 wins, there's some scrubs that Renat built the record up against. Bryan Battle, 8-1. He's got a lot of amateur experience. He's good from range. Drop it to 170. He looked like a killer beating Takashi Sato by knockout in the last one. But I am not confident that he can stop the chain wrestling of Renat. I think it's going to be consistent pressure. He's going to be constantly looking for takedowns. Battle, even when he separates, he'll have a little bit of success with the striking. Renat will continue to close that gap. And it's not like Renat's in no man's land on the feet. He definitely knows how to kickbox. The guy's got the Sambo background. I have to favor him in this fight over Bryan Battle. I do think Bryan Battle winning the Ultimate Fighter is a guy that should give a little more, I don't know, I don't want to say easy fights too, but more touch matchups, you know? Why do we got to throw him to Renat? I guess he did choose to take it on short notice. I just don't think this is necessarily the best decision for his career. Renat is a very skilled fighter, but isn't a guy that has a ton of hype on him just yet. I mean, he beat Andreas Michailidis in that last fight, dominant decision. Bryan Battle, though, just riding high off that sick knockout win. I would have rather have him, you know, fought more of a showcase matchup. Instead, he's fighting a guy that I think is going to get to him with the grappling, man. I think the advantage is there. I think that Bryan Battle probably has the better kickboxing and especially the range striking, but I think Renat's going to be closing that gap consistently. Odds for the fight, if we can find them here. We have to just go off the Tapology odds, which are not listed. I saw odds for this matchup earlier in the week, I swear to you. No way they don't have odds here. Let's pull up best fight odds and let's find out. If they don't have odds for this fight, that's a shock to me. Renat. Battle. No, we can't find the odds. I'll tell you this. I think the side of Bryan Battle would be upwards of like plus 150 as a dog. So we're not looking at, you know, some type of favorite status. I think 2-1 range for Renat is honestly pretty fair. We'll see. Could be wider. I'm going to pick him to get the win. Odd that we can't find the odds. No pun intended on that one, but we'll keep an eye out on this one. When I find the odds, I will drop them right in the comments. But I do have Renat via decision over Bryan Battle in this fight. Next fight on the card. I think these guys are about to throw down. Maheshate versus Rafa García. I'm going to pick the Maheshate side. He's a guy that comes to scrap. He's getting touched up on Contender Series, but he's throwing heat back, good back and forth. You look at his win against Steve Garcia, flatlined him. I think he's going to be dealing with, a Rafa García who wants to close the gap, probably try and wrestle a bit. I know that Garcia can box a bit too. He's got some decent hands and he's a very strong guy, but I do think Maheshate has the edge with the more dangerous stand-up game, especially a straight shot down the line. The same punch he hit Steve Garcia with, that straight is on the money. That straight right hand from Maheshate, I'd say probably his best punch. He is fairly hittable, but being as hittable as he is, and a guy who's proven tough, he can take some and then give some. Garcia could end up getting overzealous, attacking, hitting with hard shots, and then getting touched up himself. I've always felt Rafa García is a fairly well-rounded guy, but I don't feel like anywhere really jumps out the page and shines. I mean, he's getting outboxed by Chris Grutzmacher. I think Maheshate can do some damage here with the stand-up. And I'm actually going to say Maheshate KO win in the second or third round here. I think he's going to knock Rafa García out. And I do expect it to potentially be a straight shot. As far as the odds for this matchup here, Maheshate, slight plus money, plus 105. García, minus 125. It is a close fight, but I don't hate that Maheshate bet there, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what that KO prop is going to end up looking like. He's got the reach edge, the height edge. I think he's going to get the knockout in this matchup. Should be a fun one. Let's keep running up. Next matchup. Oh, shit. Said Nurmagomedov and Sadyokub Kakhramonov. I'm picking Said Nurmagomedov. Sadyokub's good, though. It's not an easy fight. But I do think Nurmagomedov is just a lot more slick with this kickboxing, a very tight style, not a lot of fat on his shots, connects from range pretty well, can definitely mix in some wrestling, and he's comfortable out of both stances. On the other side, Kakhramonov can definitely strike too. Good bullying pressure at times. He can, definitely get some subs off, got some solid submission, some solid grappling. I just feel he's going to be lacking in the department of, I think, precision, actually. So I think there's like a slight speed edge Nurmagomedov, but I also think it's the fact that he's just going to be more accurate. He's going to have an advantage in the range striking. I think he'll find the shots fairly well against Kakhramonov. I do think Kakhramonov is quality, and they're going to go a little bit long. I think the best chance for Kakhramonov is actually to put heavy forward pressure on Nurmagomedov and let hooks fly near the cage, and maybe even look for his own takedowns there. He does well when he's pressing. Nurmagomedov, though, very comfortable moving, can fight well off the back foot, moves good laterally, quick on his feet, and he times his shots well. I'm going to say he wins a decision. Said Nurmagomedov to get it done over Kakhramonov. Battle of the Suds here. Minus 107, Nurmagomedov, best value, and then plus 104, Kakhramonov. This is a pick'ems fight for good reason. Both guys real prospects at bantamweight, but I think that Nurmagomedov side leads the way, and I'll say he'll get it done on the cards. Next fight on the card, Julian Marquez and Deron Winn. I'm going to be picking Julian Marquez. Deron Winn is 5'6" at 185. He's got really good wrestling. Marquez is not going to be an easy guy to bully with the wrestling. That's what I'm thinking in this matchup, and I definitely think he has a stand-up advantage, potentially a jiu-jitsu advantage to the better subs. The only way Deron Winn gets the win is if he's mixing in takedowns the whole time. Really not even mixing in takedowns, just takedowns. That's the one ingredient he needs, takedowns. Takedowns, control. So I guess those are the two. Takedowns, control from the top. Grind to win. I don't see him winning a fight with Marquez. If they're forced to strike, Marquez will hurt him with strikes. He's got the better kickboxing. If they start getting into grappling exchanges, if Marquez gets maybe even back position on Deron Winn, he could lock something up. I think him and Winn are going to end up finding themselves in a bit of a striking battle, but I do think at times Winn lands takedowns. Marquez is getting back up to his feet. Proven tough Marquez, good pressure forward, not worrying about the power on the other side. I think Marquez might get a TKO here in the third round of a tired Deron Winn, just constantly moving forward on him. I know Deron Winn eats a good shot, but he also took a shit ton of damage with that Phil Hawes fight. And Marquez, in the last one, he got annihilated by Gregory Rodriguez. Very different matchup here. Marquez should get it done. Crazy 6'2" to 5'6", but he's only got a 2-inch reach advantage. He should get the KO, though. I think he's going to TKO, actually. TKO win, third round. A tired Winn, gets caught up with big shots, and I don't think Marquez stops coming. Wouldn't blow my mind if they go distance, though. I think Marquez getting his hand raised, ultimately. Odds around minus 155. Marquez plus 140. Deron Winn. Deron Winn's not totally out of the fight here. The dude, if he can land takedowns consistently and control, could do his thing. He's like mini DC, but he just doesn't have those same abilities as a Cormier. Obviously, the power and just even the wrestling. He's got good wrestling, not great wrestling necessarily. And against bigger guys here, too, I just feel like Deron Winn's a 155er, 170 pounder, choosing to fight at 85. I feel like he'd be so much better down a weight class. I have said this about Deron Winn for ages. Drop to 170, drop to 155. I'm so curious what he can do because he definitely can lose some fat. Julian Marquez, hand raised, and we'll call it TKO. Next fight, Jake Matthews versus Matt Semelsberger. I'm picking the Jake Matthews side. He looked crisp against Andre Fialho. His stand-up game's pretty damn quality. Semelsberger can strike too. But I feel like the side of Semelsberger is going to have a hard time really closing that gap and touching up Jake Matthews. I know he's got the reach edge of, 3 inches here, but he's not like a great outside fighter. The style of Semelsberger is he comes to scrap. He's kind of like that upright kickboxing. Will move forward, will throw shots, will engage, will be willing to mix it up. Matthews has the speed advantage, in my opinion. He's quicker on his feet. I also feel like he's the more athletic guy, and calf kicks could be a factor. I think he'll be chopping at those Semelsberger legs, working him over the 3 rounds. Semelsberger damn tough, and I expect him to go the full here against Jake Matthews, and I will take Matthews win via decision against Semi the Jedi, Matthews Semelsberger. And that momentum for Matthews is going to be damn good. The only loss, it's Sean Brady. No shame in that loss. Grappling beast. Matt Semelsberger, I think, will be willing to engage in the stand-up. I think Matthews could have a little bit of an edge there. I think he's got that speed advantage. He's been fighting good competition for years now. Matthews has been around forever, and he's only 28. I like Matthews. I'll say decision, but it wouldn't blow my mind if he did get a stoppage. But just the toughness of Semelsberger, I think, carries him through. Minus 230, Matthews, Semelsberger, plus 200. We're going Jake Matthews for the win over Matt Semelsberger. And what I do think is a pretty action-packed fight, and I'm assuming it's going to be majority striking. So one to get excited about, in my opinion. Next fight on the card, it brings us to the featured prelim. It's Cheyanne Vlismas and Cory McKenna. I'm picking the side of Cory McKenna here. I see her getting her hand raised. I think that the grappling advantage is there. I think that if she gets a hold of Vlismas and gets on top, she's going to retain that position. Vlismas is decent from the outside. She throws some okay 1-2. She's a pretty athletic girl. She does have a reach advantage, but everyone has a reach advantage over Cory McKenna, who's got a 58.5-inch reach. She can kickbox for sure, and I really feel like if she gets on top, she's going to control Vlismas. She has a strength advantage in this fight. I got to go with the side of Cory McKenna and Vlismas taking the L, and JP buys somewhere smiling at Cory McKenna getting her hand raised in this fight. Let's look at the odds. Vlismas minus 170 as the favorite. Cory McKenna plus 165. I like the dog in this fight. Cory McKenna too. I mean, her one loss to Elise Reed was a bullshit decision. And then you look at Vlismas, Montserrat Conejo, Montserrat Ruiz loss, win over Gloria DePaul. That was impressive as hell. And then she had a fight with Mallory Martin, who's 7-4. I'm not jumping up and down all excited. I think this fight could be pick'ems. I'm actually surprised McKenna's this much of a dog. Yeah, I think McKenna's getting her hand raised. I'm pretty confident she does it. I like her as an underdog a lot here in the featured prelim. Next fight brings us to the main card. If you guys haven't, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. It's Cody Brundage versus Mikhail Olakjachuk. My pick here is going to be Olakjachuk. Cody Brundage does have good wrestling. I think Olakjachuk can defend the takedown, and when they get forced into the striking, Brundage is going to be in deep waters, man. I think he's going to drown here. I think Olakjachuk's got some pretty quality boxing. He had good moments even against the likes of Dustin Jacoby, who's a quality kickboxer. He's at 185 now. I actually like this weight drop for Olakjachuk. I felt like he was kind of undersized for 205, but was still choosing to fight there for long periods and has success. I mean, if you look at 205, recent win, Bauskas, split decision, beat Shamil Gamzatov, was undefeated at the time, but Michael Olakjachuk got him. The hands of Olakjachuk are solid. I think he touches up Cody Brundage, who's definitely going to be looking to wrestle. Brundage's style is kind of forcing that wrestling early on. I mean, he destroyed Tresean Gore in his recent outing and knocked him out there, but it was because he was, Tresean was so focused on defending takedowns, Brundage was able to sneak that shot right through and drop Tresean and then sick ground and pound. It was a great win for Brundage. He's a good athlete. He's a good wrestler. Olakjachuk should be able to defend. I see him as the superior fighter and definitely the more dangerous guy. I think Olakjachuk is going to end up knocking Brundage out. Kind of thinking could be first round, could be second round. I'm thinking in the first two, Olakjachuk gets his hand raised and it's a KO. As far as the odds, Olakjachuk little wide, around minus 270. Cody Brundage, the plus 230 underdog. I'm riding with the Olakjachuk side by KO. And I think 185 is his weight class, guys. I'm telling you. I know against Sam Alvey, that's kind of like a little bit of a gimme, but he murdered Sam Alvey. It was actually hard to watch Sam get destroyed in that fight with his whole family in the audience too. Olakjachuk don't care. This guy's cold-blooded, and I think he's coming for a cold-blooded kill against Cody Brundage. So we're going Olakjachuk. Next fight on this main card. Ooh, this right here might be fight of the night. This is a scrap. Drew Dober and Bobby Green. Battle of the vets. I'm picking Bobby Green. You know what? I think that he can touch Dober up from the outside, stay moving, force Dober to try to engage. And I will say, Dober comes at his opponents pretty hard. He definitely hits with a ton of power, and he's also proven as extremely durable. What is Bobby Green great at? Being a patient fighter, good counter striker, a guy that takes his time. I can see him touching up Dober. Dober actually choosing to engage in wrestling. I think Bobby Green's going to have the takedown capabilities to keep Dober off of him. I think Dober's going to try to explode at moments and rip big shots, and he'll just have moments in the fight, but not significant ones. I do think Bobby Green fairly defensively sound, and he's going to be touching up Dober with straight shots. I'd say he has the speed advantage. I'd call him the better boxer of the two. Pure, power, I guess you kind of lean at Dober, but Green's got more precision though. And I mean, Green could potentially knock out a careless Dober. You look at Dober against Terrence McKinney. That was insane. McKinney looked to put it on him early. Dober able to take all that and then get himself a win. So extreme durability with Dober, but it works out for Bobby Green because he's not a guy that forces finishes. He's happy to take his time, pick his opponents apart, and win decisions. And that's what I'm thinking he does here. Win by decision. Bobby Green, I think he gets it done on the cards. Could see a round for Dober in the mix. I could see a 29-28, but I do think Bobby Green wins and outstriking the side of Drew Dober with a smart approach. With Bobby Green, you always get that approach. And this is a matchup that I think does kind of favor his style. Dober, more of the bull. Green, the matador. And I think Bobby gets the hand raise. Plus 145 underdog Bobby Green. Drew Dober sitting at minus 150. I like the dog. I like the dog side. I like Bobby Green to get it done. I'm excited to see this fight too. This is a scrap. Both guys in similar spots in their careers, too. I know Bobby Green just recently lost to Makhachev, which was an annihilation 8 months ago. Took the fight on super short notice, and Makhachev's now the champ. No shame in that loss right there for Bobby Green. I think he wins this one. Let's keep on running up the next matchup. Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres and Julian Juicy J. Erosa. I'm picking Bruce Leroy. I think Alex Caceres can win this fight. Julian Erosa has the habit of fighting to his opponent's level, but I feel like when he does that with Alex Caceres here, he's going to find a level that's hard to match. Caceres is pretty damn quality from range. He's got good grappling skills. He's a patient guy. He's got a ton of fight experience. As on the contrary, Julian Erosa, a ton of fight experience. He kind of has these ups, downs, but he's on a fucking roll right now. He's looked incredible. The Charles Jourdain win was awesome, but he barely beat Steven Peterson. That's concerning for me. And then he worked over Hakeem Dawodu as a dog and really beat him up in that fight. Alex Caceres' style, I just think, is going to be tricky for Erosa, who's very unorthodox. Hands are low. Caceres keeps a, fairly tight but rangy guard. I see him landing straight punches in the fight. I'm interested to see how the grappling exchanges go. I think it could be pretty competitive there. I expect close fight, and I think Caceres is going to end up running away with it. I'm going Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres to get the win over Julian Erosa. Erosa, as a good size favorite, he's going to end up fumbling it here against the experienced vet Alex Caceres. Both guys got tons of fights too. It's a great matchup. Both guys, fighters from The Ultimate Fighter, obviously different seasons, but it's cool to see them still in the UFC doing their thing. And Erosa's coming to his own recently. I still think Caceres can edge him out in this one. As far as the odds, Caceres plus 165, Julian Erosa at minus 175. I like Alex Caceres' side to get the win too. It's pretty crazy. These guys are almost the same age, 33, 34. Both have a shitload of fights. Interesting career points, close to the rankings, but not necessarily there yet in the featherweight division. And then for Caceres, he was sent back in the last one by Sadiq Yusuf, but that's a tough matchup for him. Erosa, he should find some success against. Competitive fight, but I'm pick Caceres, and I do think he can do it via decision in this matchup here. Bruce Leroy for the win. Next fight, Amir Albazi and Alessandro Costa. This is a dogfight. Costa's taking this fight on short notice, too. Veteran from Contender Series. Big power puncher. Fights over in Luke's Fight League. His last win was against a guy named Carlos Gomez. It was one shot. He needed one punch. You don't necessarily see this type of power often at flyweight. He also rips to the body really well. As far as in the stand-up game, if I'm Albazi, I would be very concerned. He's a very athletic guy, being Amir Albazi. He's quick, and he's actually pretty decent with the stand-up too. But I think the wrestling is a big difference maker. Costa's going to have the jiu-jitsu game, but I don't think he can deal with the physical strength and wrestling capabilities of Albazi. Albazi should look to get this fight to the ground fairly early, show that he's comfortable enough striking with the likes of Costa to set up the takedowns, but do not get overzealous with the stand-up because Costa is a guy that carries some real pop. At 125, it's pretty intense, and if he lands, he can hurt anyone. I think Albazi does the smart thing, mixing in the wrestling here, and I think he's en route to winning. I'm going to say he does it by decision. I know Costa's taking the fight on short notice, so there could be a chance of him gassing a little bit later in the fight, maybe third round. But I don't know. I just feel like this dude's pretty dangerous. I think Costa's legit UFC ready as far as it goes in flyweight. And he's got a win over Martinetti from the Contender Series. Yeah, Andreas Luna Martinetti was 12-0. He gave him that O in the fight. The kid looks pretty solid. I'm excited to see what happens here. I like the striking of Costa a lot, but I think Albazi is going to have the wrestling edge. And it's not like Costa is a slouch on the ground, so I do think he looks fairly competitive and survives. Tough short notice out. I'll say Albazi gets it done, but the odds are very, very wide. Understandably so. The hype's with the Albazi side at minus 410, Costa at plus 335. But I think Costa's definitely UFC caliber. I'm excited to see what he does moving forward after this fight. Not ideal circumstance. Albazi should win it. But Costa, I think the right move taking this fight, and even in loss, I think he could raise his stock with this one, especially going distance against a beast like Albazi. I'll say Albazi win by decision. The wrestling gets it done for him. He's kind of known for decision wins. I know he's got finishes too, but he does good work with control, and that's what I expect here from Albazi. The co-main event. Arman Tsarukyan and Damir Ismagulov. Hell of a matchup. Throwing these guys to top-level dudes right away. Like the UFC doesn't play. The best fight the best. Arman Tsarukyan is my pick to win this fight. Both these guys are incredible future contenders in the weight class. You look at the past couple for Ismagulov, Garam Kutaladze win. That's impressive. Rafael Alves controlled that fight, dominant in that performance. He looked pretty quality. Thiago Moises fight, beats a good name like Moises. Years ago, though, he disappeared for a while, and then he comes back. And I feel like Ismagulov, his technical striking from outside insane. He does this weird twitch thing. He has some type of maybe Tourette's or something like that, which is odd to see in a fight, right? Can you imagine he twitches out at the fucking worst moment and just gets clobbered? Hasn't happened yet. 24-1. Ismagulov's nasty. He's well-rounded, but I really think he does shine in that stand-up department. Good patience, and I like the way he holds that lead hand a little farther out and touches up his opponents. But Tsarukyan is a freak athlete on this side. Really good wrestling ability, and he's dangerous as hell on the feet, too. I expect Tsarukyan to be looking to wrestle a lot here. Against Mateusz Gamrot, a lot of people disagree with that decision. If Tsarukyan would have got that win, he would have been fighting the likes of Beneil Dariush, and who knows where Tsarukyan would be at that point. Now he fights Ismagulov, who's not an easy out at all. It's back-to-back super tough fights for Tsarukyan. I do think he shines in this one, getting his hand raised. I expect him to mix in the wrestling here, looking for takedowns consistently. I can see him getting Ismagulov down. How much damage can he do from the top? I don't think it'll be easy to do a lot in Ismagulov. I can see him controlling against the cage, and I can also see him having successful moments in the stand-up. But Ismagulov is not a guy to sleep on ever. This is a close fight. They could have had these lines at pick'ems, and I wouldn't have complained. Instead, though, the line's looking like minus 155 Tsarukyan, plus 149 Damir Ismagulov, ranging around that. I'm going to pick Tsarukyan via decision, but this is a really hard fight against Ismagulov. Tsarukyan's 26, and they're just giving him hell matchups. He fought Makhachev and gave him a competitive out. I think Tsarukyan's getting the hand raised. Decision win over a really good fighter in Damir Ismagulov, who I still think has a bright future in the UFC. Let's jump to the main event. If you guys haven't, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you're new. Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland to remain contenders in the middleweight division, which might now kind of be wide open depending what happens with Adesanya Pereira. I guess it's 4, but in MMA it would be the rematch. A lot of interesting stuff. Strickland, bad knockout loss to Pereira in the last one. Cannonier, decision loss to Adesanya recently. I'm going to pick Sean Strickland to win this fight. He's the younger guy by 7 years. I'm not saying Cannonier is showing any signs of slowing down, but we know his level. He's really explosive and hits hard. But I see a patient Sean Strickland actually outboxing the side of Cannonier, who's going to use that explosiveness, whereas Strickland is more taking his time, being calm. I don't see the capabilities of an Alex Pereira to set up that perfect hook and flatline a Sean Strickland. I don't think Sean Strickland is any bit chinny, by the way, guys. He got flatlined by the hardest puncher at middleweight right now in Alex Pereira, a guy who's a legitimate championship-level kickboxer, the boogeyman of the weight class, who just slept Israel Adesanya. I'm going to pick the side of volume over the side of explosiveness, being Strickland with the boxing from range, with multi-shot combos, with peppering punches landing over Cannonier, who might have the better one kill shot, but it's going to be hard to land. And if he does land it, I don't think it puts the lights out on Sean Strickland. I think he can absorb a few. It would take a perfect shot to just absolutely flatline him. An Alex Pereira type punch. And I don't think Cannonier has those capabilities. I like Sean Strickland to win. I think he can do it with the boxing, with the volume, and take a hard-fought decision to finish out 2022 for the UFC. Strickland sitting at -112, close money. Cannonier at +110. Yeah, I think Sean Strickland does it. And watch for that jab. I think that Sean Strickland jab can be pretty on the money here with Cannonier. And I expect Cannonier to try to explode with hooks. And I do think he's going to try to rip in some heavy kicks in this fight. Strickland will be prepared for it. Sean Strickland for the win. And he gets himself back in that contendership over a game test in the powerful Jared Cannonier. And there's still hope of maybe somehow a Sean Strickland title shot in the future. He would need a couple more, and then with a win in this one, I mean, there's the likes of Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker, Marvin Vettori, all towards that top line. He's in that mix with them. Obviously, the Pereira rematch, very unlikely to happen. If somehow Adesanya got the belt back, Strickland maybe wins one more after this. Maybe he finds himself fighting for the strap. Very interesting spot. Sean Strickland and Jared Cannonier, in my opinion, though, kind of in must-wins to remain relevant as contenders in the middleweight division. And I say Sean Strickland's volume and his boxing gets him the win here over a game Jared Cannonier. I say it might be 49-46. Win by unanimous decision for Tarzan Sean Strickland. Previously Tarzan. Tarzan no more. We'll just call him that crazy savage Sean Strickland. And I think he gets it done over Jared Cannonier. Good fight. Great card. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you smash the hell out of the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning into the show. Definitely let me know what you think of the picks in the comments. And if you don't have anything to say, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm as always, baby. Much love, my people, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.